What is the meaning of life? It's a question I believe has a profound and personal answer to every single one of us, and we all seek to answer it in our own way. For some, the answer may be acquisition of money or power. But for me, the key factor is happiness. What is it that gives me the most satisfaction? The knowledge that I am living a rewarding life, fulfilling my deepest desires. For decades, those with that same desire have sought each other out and formed intentional communities, living together and working towards a common goal. A bit of light research shows that there are dozens of such communities around the country with a wide range of intentions, from animal welfare to environmental activism. These people have found their answer to that question, and 6 months ago I set off on a journey of discovery, visiting some of these communities and talking to their members in the hopes of finding my own answer. Join me now as I meet the people living with intention. Every journey has to start somewhere, and mine begins on a rainy platform at Winchester train station. Eventually, though, I reached my first stop, the Wild Futures Monkey Sanctuary in Looe, South Cornwall. The sanctuary rescues primates from the exotic pet trade throughout Europe. With only a few full-time employees, the sanctuary relies on volunteers to help look after the animals and maintain the community. For 2 weeks, I worked as one of these volunteers and spoke to the staff about their experiences here.
So I'm Holly, and I live and work here at Wild Futures Monkey Sanctuary in Cornwall. The sanctuary began in 1964, and it was set up by a man called Len Williams, who's the father of John Williams, who's a famous Spanish guitar player. He had acquired a few woolly monkeys, rescued them, and they'd been kept as pets in various circumstances. And they needed more space, basically. And the community developed because of that, because of the work and the fact that more woolly monkeys were rescued from the pet trade. So the community was monkeys and people at the beginning. And so the more monkeys there were and the more spaces there were to clean out, the more hands were needed. And people came to help out because they were fascinated by the species, but also by the concept of this kind of interliving idea that Len was interested in, that people and monkeys could kind of cross paths peacefully. We feel it's completely essential to have people on site all the time. It's a massive help to the staff to be able to live here and have all the food provided and everything like that.
Yeah, my name is Will, and I've actually been a keeper here over the years, but I'm here at the moment as a volunteer, so the place can't get rid of me. And one of the things which seems to keep drawing me back is the sense of belonging to something which was outside yourself. So you've got the cause of looking after and rescuing pet monkeys, but living as a community, it's been a fascinating experience of understanding yourself, living in a group of people.
It's hard to imagine the monkey sanctuary without a community, really hard, because it's a vocation, basically.
Well, I'm Kirsty Rains, I'm an Aussie. Came to Wild Futures to learn a little bit more about primates. turned out to be a pretty amazing experience, really learning a whole lot more about a species. The community life was really good as well.
You have a family, and we are really, really supportive of one another. You know, you don't ever have to be on your own if you don't want to be. There's just nothing like finishing work on a summer afternoon and going down to the beach with everybody, and you can sit out the front of the house for 3 hours, 4 hours after you finish work, and everything you need is right there.
The sense of community here is really what sort of keeps the place going, really, because like I say, we're all living together and working for the same cause.
Sharing resources, food and energy is very important to us as well, so we do as much kind of communal cooking as we can, time-wise and whatever, just to save on that. We've just had Christmas and everybody works, even on their day off. They're at least helping to prepare the massive dinner that everyone's having, and people who normally are doing other jobs like working in the office or doing our maintenance or whatever just help out with the really important tasks of a day, like cleaning out the monkeys, so that everyone can finish earlier and everyone can sit down to dinner. And so yeah, we pull together in that kind of way.
Living in a community like this, you actually end up learning more about people than you do about monkeys.
The negatives are that it does make it difficult to get your own space sometimes. This is my job, and maybe it shouldn't be my entire life. I need to live and also work and normally go out and play with the same people all the time.
It's very similar working with people in the house and working with monkeys. We're all sort of very the same, and although sometimes I think I'd rather live with the monkeys rather than the people in the house. But
you know, it can always be a little difficult living where you work and working where you live, and building those relationships, but everyone here is sort of on the same level and loves being here and loves what they do, so it's a good little community.
People are communal animals and have always been. If there's anywhere that you can kind of reenact the cosy sort of traditional community feeling, community referring to an entire village or a town or something like that, where you actually all sit down and engage in the same creative endeavour that's not just playing on the TV, then it's somewhere like this.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
Working at the sanctuary was a fantastic experience and really showed me what it means to live for a purpose greater than myself. The work was often hard, but enjoyable and very fulfilling. But something was missing, something that stopped me from feeling completely comfortable within the community. So I continued on to another community, this time in the north of Cornwall, called Trelay. More of a co-housing group, Trelay is made up of 20 residents with their own homes and several communal buildings, along with 30 acres of land on which fruit and vegetables are grown and animals are bred.
There we are, our little village.
Sustainability is the mantra of Trelay, whether environmental, social or financial, and although everyone who lives there has their own employment and agenda, the community meets regularly for social events and entertainment. I spoke to co-founder Jackie and others about what it takes to make a successful community in the hopes of discovering what it was I was missing.
Everybody who comes to live here is naturally a friendly person, because you wouldn't want to live in a community and spend your time with other people if you weren't friendly. A lot of the difficulties, I suppose I'm saying in a nutshell, are interpersonal skills difficulties, and I think every human being finds it difficult to interact with other people, and it's one of the skills I think we need to learn for a sustainable future. All of us need to learn better how to relate to other people.
My name's Debbie and I live in a little kind of cluster of houses in a little cul-de-sac. Everyone's got a washing machine and everyone's got a lawnmower and everyone's got a food mixer and everyone's got a car and everyone's got a set of tools in the cupboard, and that actually that's not a very sustainable or resilient way of living, and it's not particularly sociable either.
If everybody pooled their resources, you can get a lot further. The modern kind of world that we live in is quite geared towards everybody living in their own little self-contained house, you know, terraced house.
Everyone living in their little boxes of houses all separately is starting to feel like quite an unnatural way of living.
And they think those are big lifestyle choices, but the idea of giving up your own space and living in a shared place goes against things that people have learnt their whole life.
There's still a sort of tagline associated with community which people tend to view sometimes as communes or hippie sort of places, and you do have to constantly fight the concept that you are somehow not normal.
Some people were a little bit unsure about what we were. I think they just think we're some sort of drug-taking hippie commune or something.
Sometimes people's initial reaction is kind of like, oh, that's not normal, that's not the normal way of living, is it? And then once they actually start to, you know, get their head around it, I think I think people are quite positive about it.
To me, that's normal. That's the way human beings have all lived in the whole world, in all the countries, in all cultures, in all time. People have lived in a caring and sharing community. Living here is a completely different lifestyle choice.
Peak oil and climate change issues, there will be major changes over the next 10, 20, 30 years, whatever it is. And some people will have to look at the countryside in a different way to actually ensure that we can produce much more of our local food and are able to live locally.
Well, I think that the future of the world's a bit bleak in lots of ways, but I think the future of communities is not bleak. I think this is where the health and happiness of future people lies.
I've never been a hugely social person, but I never considered that it could hold me back from the way of life I longed for. As much as I respected and admired the community at Trelay, I felt that their priorities and outlook differed too much from my own. So I next visited a younger community I hoped I could relate to more. Grow Heathrow is a squatted site home to an action group established 4 years ago to protest the building of a third runway at Heathrow Airport.
Come on, let's go! Let's grow! Let's grow! Welcome into our home, me and you, everyone.
Since the cancellation of the proposal in 2009, their aim is now more focused on aiding and educating local communities in their resistance to urban and industrial expansion, as well as wider issues such as climate change and socio-economic sustainability.
My name is Rosie.
My name is Joey.
We don't have really clear, obvious job roles as you'd have in a kind of more formal paid waged contract setting.
Just a member of this community. I don't have any particular status or this is somebody who lives here.
It's the survival of the villages and the homes and the graveyards and the schools and all of those things. At the same time, it's using the transition town model to create a positive alternative, an example of what we can do if we don't just build more runways.
Before I came to live here, I had a lot of grievances with the society that I was living in, but I didn't really see a way of living in them differently.
TV, I don't miss it too much though. Money, don't really miss that too much. Boring statements and forms and banks and that kind of stuff. Loads of stress, rush, travel. I'm really happy to miss all of those things.
I feel on this site that I'm living much closer to my ideals, that I'm not as complicit in the negative trends that I see in the world around me.
I'm feeling like I'm living out my ideals and I'm helping to change things in the world positively in the way that I want to.
It's a beautiful place to experiment. There's a lot of freedom here. There's, we don't recognise the constraints that are put upon people.
I love just being outside and part of nature and having more wild green spaces, and just being able to walk out of my little bender that I built in my bare feet and kind of walk around here and listen to the birds and learn about all of that.
It's not the same sort of levels of comfort to begin with, and that is developing over time, but still of a winter's evening, you have to make some sacrifices.
Well, sometimes it's a bit cold. Especially in the winter, it's harder to do everything, like heating, hot showers. We have the ability to sort of do all of them, but it just takes that little bit more work. You just can't flick a switch and get your running hot water. So it's a bit more challenging, but also that kind of makes it more exciting, and everything's a bit more fulfilling and satisfying, and people come together more because you have to work together. So yeah, we don't always get it right, but we do a lot of amazing things as well.
Over these last 6 months, I have seen and experienced firsthand many alternative ways of living, and learned a lot about what it is to have meaning and purpose in life. Each community I visited had something to offer, and I'm grateful to all of them for setting a fantastic example for me to follow. The Monkey Sanctuary was a fantastic place to visit, and I particularly like the idea of a community that works for animal welfare. But it was also my first hint that I needed to offer something to the community rather than just use it for my own good. At Trelay, I learned more about the need to be an active part of the community, able to offer social effort as well as practical. And at Grow Heathrow, I saw just how important practical skills would be to ensure my value within the community. Thanks to these communities, I think I've found my answer to the question I began with. Now, it's down to me to continue moulding myself in order to live up to it.
Hopefully you'll be able to join in. G-R-O-W. Take care of me and take care of you. H-E-H-T-H, roll! Coming back now. Are we gonna go? No! Check out our nearly new wind turbine. Well, we're way off grid. It makes me feel so